Once upon a time, there lived a king who had been married for 10 years, but was unable to have children. One day, a wise sage approached the king and said, "Since you are troubled by the lack of an heir, I can provide a remedy. The queen will conceive and give birth to twin sons, but you must promise to give me one of the infants in return for this gift." The king found the condition challenging, but his desire for an heir, who would carry his name and inherit his wealth and kingdom, overcame his reluctance. He agreed to the sage's condition. The queen took the medicine, and after some time, she gave birth to twin boys. Years passed, and the sage did not appear to claim his part of the bargain. The king and queen assumed that the sage had passed away, especially considering his advanced age when he had approached them. They let go of their fears and anxieties. However, the sage was alive and well, earning a livelihood and counting the years diligently. On the other hand, the king took great care of his sons, teaching them horse riding, archery, sword fighting, and various other skills. The people were impressed by the young prince's abilities. When the twins reached the age of 16, the sage appeared at the palace gates to claim what was promised. The king and queen's hearts trembled, thinking that the sage had passed away, but their astonishment knew no bounds when they saw him alive and standing robustly at the palace entrance. He demanded one of the young princes, as agreed. The king and queen were filled with sorrow and grief, facing an intense dilemma. However, they had no choice but to fulfill their promise to the sage, or else the curse would befall them, turning them into ashes. The brothers, unaware of this prior commitment, discussed the situation. The younger brother, showing wisdom beyond his age, said to the elder one, "You are the elder. You must stay with our parents and bear the responsibility of the kingdom." The elder brother responded, "You are the younger one, the apple of our parents' eyes. You should stay, and I will go." After a prolonged discussion, the elder prince went with the sage. Before leaving, he planted a tree in the palace courtyard, saying to his father, mother, and brother, "This tree represents my life. As long as it remains green and thriving, know that I am well." The prince continued his journey in good spirits. "However, when you see parts of the tree withering, know that I am unwell. And if the entire tree wilts, know that I have passed away." The elder prince embraced his parents and younger brother, then departed with the sage. As they walked through the forest, they encountered a group of dogs by the roadside. One of them asked the sage's permission to accompany the handsome young man, whom he believed to be a prince. The mother granted the request, and the prince happily took the dog as his companion. While they continued their journey, they came across a female hawk perched on a tree beside the road, accompanied by her offspring. One of the young hawks asked its mother if it could join the handsome young man, who must be a king's son. The mother allowed it, and the prince added the hawk to his entourage. The sage, the prince, the dog, and the young hawk traveled until they reached the heart of the distant forest, far from human dwellings. They stood before a very old hut, which was the sage's abode. The sage told the prince, "You will live with me in this hut. Your main task will be to gather flowers from the forest for my rituals. You can go in any direction except north. If you go in that direction, evil will befall you." The prince diligently gathered flowers from the forest, presenting them to the sage, who would then leave for a specific place, returning only at sunset. The prince spent his days as he pleased, wandering in the forest with his dog and young hawk, shooting arrows at the abundant deer. Time passed in this manner. One day, the prince wounded a deer with his arrow, and it ran towards the north. Oblivious to the sage's warning, The prince followed it until they entered a beautiful house. Instead of finding the wounded deer, he encountered an extraordinarily beautiful girl sitting by the door. The prince stood transfixed, captivated by her heavenly beauty. The girl spoke, "Enter, stranger. Fate has brought you here. But do not leave before playing the game of snakes and ladders with me." The prince agreed joyfully, and the game of chance was set. They decided that if the prince won, he could stay, but if he lost, he would have to leave. The prince lost the game, and he was required to give the young hawk to the girl. If she lost, she had to provide the prince with a similar hawk. The girl won the game, so she took the prince's hawk and placed it in a pit covered with a wooden board. The prince proposed playing another round, and the girl agreed, stating that if he lost, she would take his dog, and if she lost, she would give him a dog like hers. The girl won again, taking the prince's dog and securing it in a second pit. The prince suggested a third round, and this time the stake was the prince himself. If he lost, he would surrender himself to the girl to do with him as she pleased. If he won, she would give him a young man identical to him. The girl won for the third time, capturing the prince and placing him in another pit covered with a wooden board. Unbeknownst to the prince, the beautiful girl was no ordinary human but a flesh-eating creature, known as Sasha. She admired the soft and clean body of the prince and intended to consume him. However, on that day, she had enough food, so she decided to save the prince for the following day. At that very moment, cries and lamentations filled the king's palace. The prince's brother had been observing the tree his brother had planted in the palace courtyard. Suddenly, he noticed some of its leaves wilting. He informed the king and queen, and they all concluded that the life of the elder prince was in jeopardy. The younger prince decided to go and help his brother. Before leaving, he planted a tree in the palace courtyard, much like the one his brother had planted. It served as an indicator of his well-being. Choosing the fastest horse from the palace stables, the younger prince raced into the forest. Along the way, he encountered a group of dogs, and one of them pleaded to join him, stating that since his brother took a dog, he should take one too. The prince agreed, taking the dog as a companion. Shortly afterward, he heard the cry of a hawk perched in a tree along the road. The hawk requested to join him, saying that since his brother took a hawk, he should take one as well. The prince accepted the hawk, and with these two companions, he entered the heart of the forest until he reached the sage's hut. To his surprise, neither the sage nor his brother was there. However, there was a pit covered with a wooden board. The prince, now accompanied by the dog and the hawk, entered the pitiless forest, determined to uncover the fate of his elder brother. The young prince didn't know what to do or where to go. He sat in the hut until the sage or his brother returned. At sunset, the sage came back to his hut and saw the young prince. He said, "I am pleased to see you." The prince asked, "Where is my brother?" The sage replied, "I warned your brother not to go towards the north, as evil awaited him. However, it seems he disobeyed my orders and went north, falling into the hands of Sasha, who resides there. There is little hope of saving him, as Sasha is likely to have consumed him." The prince decided to rescue his brother, no matter the consequences. The young prince aimed his arrow at a deer, and the wounded animal ran north. The prince chased after it, entering Sasha's beautiful dwelling, without much surprise when he saw the stunning girl. He quickly deduced, from what the sage had told him, that this deceptive girl was Sasha, who had captured his brother. The girl asked him to play the game of snakes and ladders with her, and he agreed, playing under the same conditions as his brother. The prince won the game, and the girl gave him a young hawk. They played another round, and he won again, receiving a dog from her. In the third game, the prince emerged victorious once more, and the girl reluctantly released his brother. After releasing him, the two brothers decided to kill Sasha to prevent her from capturing anyone else. However, Sasha proposed a deal, offering information that could save the life of the elder prince. She revealed that the beggar sage was a devotee of the goddess Kali, and that he followed a Hindu sect seeking perfection through communication with departed spirits. The sage had sacrificed 6 human lives, and the 7th victim, intended for perfection, was the elder prince. Grateful for Sasha's advice, the elder prince left for the Kali temple and confirmed Sasha's information by finding 6 human skulls there. When he returned, Sasha told them that when the sage arrived, he should pretend to bow before Kali, but take the sword and behead the sage when he bowed. The elder prince thanked Sasha and returned with his younger brother. In a few days, the sage completed his rituals, and he asked the elder prince to accompany him to the Kali temple, for a specific reason he didn't disclose. The younger prince insisted on going too, but was not allowed to enter the temple. The sage stood before Kali and instructed the prince to bow. As the prince bowed, he swiftly drew his sword and beheaded the sage, offering his head to Kali. The goddess spared the prince, granting him the sought-after perfection. The twins returned to their father unharmed.